At Mother's Day lunch, she mocked me in front of everyone. All my kids are amazing. Except you. I smiled, placed a black box on the table, and walked out. Then I took back the luxury car I gave her, and moments later, her scream told me everything. Imagine your own mother, on Mother's Day, raising a glass and calling you a loser to a chorus of laughter from your family. That wasn't just a joke, it was a cold, sharp dagger, plunging deep into my chest. I'm proud of all my children, except the loser sitting at the table. Her words hung in the air, echoing with the clink of champagne flutes. My sister, Melanie, snorted into her mimosa. Her husband, Greg, actually slapped the table, roaring with delight. My younger brother, Aaron, leaned over, his voice a low, dismissive whisper, "Don't take it so seriously, man. It's just mom being mom." No one flinched. No one spoke up. No one thought, even for a second, that this wasn't okay. I just sat there, watching the familiar lines around my mother's mouth, the glint in her eye that screamed, "Yes, I said it, and no, I don't regret it." I was invisible to them then, a punchline. But only when it suited them. When Melanie's car needed new brakes, when Aaron's rent was due just this once, when the family bills needed covering, suddenly I was the backbone, the reliable one, their personal ATM. On Mother's Day, though? I was the joke. I hadn't planned any of this. I hadn't planned to make a scene, to do any of what was about to unfold. But something snapped inside me. Something final. I reached under the table, pulled out a small black box, and placed it directly in front of her plate. "Happy Mother's Day," I said, my voice eerily calm. She blinked at it, confused, maybe suspicious. "What is this?" she asked, her tone suddenly cautious. Everyone at the table leaned in, silent. "You'll see," I replied. Then I stood up, adjusted my jacket, and walked out. 10 minutes later, I was in her driveway. I opened the door to the luxury car I'd gifted her last year, the one she bragged about to her book club, the one she told everyone her favorite child had bought her. She never mentioned it was me. I had the second key. I got in, started the engine, and pulled away, slowly, calmly, like I was just running an errand. She screamed when she opened that box. I didn't hear it, but I pictured it perfectly, her shrill voice echoing, her perfectly manicured fingers clawing at the edges, finding what I'd left her. A single photo. Me, at 10 years old, clutching a homemade Mother's Day card and a bouquet of flowers I'd bought with coins saved from skipping lunch for a week. On the back, I'd written, "This was the last time I thought I mattered to you." That's how it started. Not the war, but the reckoning. For 2 weeks, total radio silence. No calls, no texts. Not even a vague Facebook post from Melanie, which, believe me, was shocking for someone who couldn't go 20 minutes without updating the world on her kale smoothie. Then Greg broke through. "Hey man, that car situation really messed her up. Maybe apologize." Apologize? They humiliated me, laughed at me, and I was supposed to feel bad for taking back something I'd paid for? I didn't answer. I didn't block him either. I wanted to see what they'd try next. And they did try. 3 days later, my father called. Not to apologize, not to ask how I was. Just one sentence on my voicemail: "If you're done acting like an attention seeker, we could use some help with Aaron's tuition." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. Aaron. The golden boy. The future of the family who just needed time to figure things out. 6 years he'd been figuring things out, while I was paying off his credit cards and wiring money for textbooks he never even bought. I told myself I was done. I truly believed it. But then I made a mistake. I went back. Not for them, but for Grandma. Her 83rd birthday. She was the only one in that entire family who ever looked at me without judgment, who only offered peppermint hard candies and gentle memories, never demands. The party was simple: finger food, fold-out chairs, plastic tablecloths. I almost forgot who I was walking into, until I overheard it. They were in the kitchen. I'd gone to get ice. I wasn't trying to spy, I just paused when I heard my name. Melanie, loud as ever: "He's not family. He's just a wallet with feelings." The room erupted in laughter. Greg chuckled, well, feelings don't pay rent. Then Mom, with that tired, dramatic sigh she used for pity, I just wish he'd learn to take a joke. He always makes it about him. It's not like we forced him to give us anything. And then, Dad, delivering the final, brutal blow, he did it to feel important. Let him feel small for once. I stood there, ice bucket in my hands. Just stood. Not moving, not breathing. They hadn't seen me. Not yet. When I finally walked into the room, it went dead silent. No excuses, no laughter, just raw guilt on their faces. Then the usual cover-up attempt, oh, there you are. We were just talking about, yeah, I caught in. I heard everything. Melanie blinked. Mom tried to reach for my arm. Don't twist it, sweetheart. You were just reminding each other how useful I used to be, I finished for her. Don't worry. Message received. I didn't leave. Not yet. Grandma hadn't had her cake. But I watched. I watched how no one looked me in the eye. How Aaron handed me a plate like it was a peace offering. How Greg tried to start a conversation about the stock market, pretending nothing had happened. They knew I hurt. But they also knew I wasn't going to yell, wasn't going to cry. And that scared them more than anything. But they weren't done. A week later, an email from my bank. An attempted transfer using an old joint account I'd opened with Dad years ago, when I helped him refinance his house. It had been dormant, forgotten. They hadn't. I called the bank, froze the account, flagged the attempt. Then I drove to their house. Not to confront. To watch. They were having dinner, tacos, from the smell. I didn't knock. I didn't say anything. I just stood across the street, hands in my pockets, watching the warm family light glow from their windows. I wasn't in it anymore, but I used to be. They didn't see me until Melanie stepped outside to take out the trash. She froze when she saw me, then plastered on that fake smile. You're being dramatic again, she said. Come inside. It's Taco Tuesday. I walked up to her, not too close, just enough. You tried to steal from me, I said. You joked about me, used me, mocked me. And now I'm supposed to smile over tacos? She shrugged. Families fight. I leaned in. No. Families break. Then I turned and walked away. She didn't follow. The next morning, a text from her, don't do anything crazy. You'll regret it. She was right. I was about to do something insane. But I knew I'd never regret it. Because I finally saw the truth. I wasn't their family. I was their strategy. And that game was over. They messaged me a week before it happened. Just one sentence, we miss you. Let's do Mother's Day right this time. I didn't answer right away. I waited 3 days. Then I wrote back, fine. One dinner. Just family. They thought I was crawling back. That the black box and the car were just a tantrum. That a decent meal and a few warm words would bring their little puppet son back into line. I showed up at 6 o'clock. The table was set like always. Candles, swan-folded napkins, wine glasses polished to a blinding shine. My mother wore the pearl necklace I'd once given her. Melanie was in a low-cut dress, that same smug smile. Greg sat beside her, her loyal little pet. My father sat at the head of the table, throne style, as if he'd earned anything. Only Aaron looked genuinely nervous. We're so happy you came, my mother purred. We really missed you. And maybe we went too far last time. My father muttered, eyes down, or maybe we didn't go far enough. Mom quickly added, but family is bigger than pride, right? Let's not hold grudges. I didn't answer. I waited. She raised her glass. Tonight is about turning the page. I'm proud of all my children, even the ones who lost their way. We all make mistakes. Silence. Then, a voice from the hallway, sorry I'm late. Everyone turned. Rachel stepped into the room. Melanie's ex. The one she called unstable, the one she swore would ruin her life, the one she'd lied about for years. Melanie froze mid-sip. "What is she doing here?" she hissed. "She's here for dinner," I said, calm as ice. "With the family." Rachel sat beside me, elegant and composed. She pulled a small envelope from her purse and placed it gently on the table. "I've kept quiet long enough," she said, her voice steady. "But I was invited here to tell the truth." My father leaned forward, ready to growl, but Rachel beat him to it. "Mrs. Harris," she said, looking straight at my mother. "In January, over wine, you told me this about your son: his emotions are his leash. He pays when he feels guilty. He's not family. He's a strategy." I turned to Melanie. "And you? You didn't know I was standing right behind that hallway wall when you said, 'Let him feel small for once.'" Melanie exploded first. "She's lying. This is a setup. You brought her here to ambush us? You're seriously doing this again? You need help. You want to talk about help?" I cut her off. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a printed bank statement. "Here's a wire transfer. $12,500 from my account to yours. Approved, but not by me." I slid it across the table. "That's not a mistake. That's fraud." My father shot to his feet. "This is betrayal," he barked. "We came here to make peace and you bring in this snake?" My mother had started crying by then, but it was the kind of crying actresses do in soap operas, just enough to look tragic without ruining their makeup. "I don't know what you want from us," she whispered. I stood. "I want nothing," I said. "Not your apologies, not your calls, not your guilt. I want distance." I looked each of them in the eye. "I'm not your son anymore. I'm your consequence." Then I pulled one last thing from my jacket. A sealed legal envelope. "In here is a formal termination of all joint accounts. Access to my business, gone. My name on the trust, updated. Grandpa made sure of it before he passed. Melanie, removed. Dad, erased." I dropped the envelope in front of my mother's glass. "This is your inheritance now. Emptiness. Just like the respect you gave me." Then I pulled out that old photo. Me, at 10 years old, holding a handmade card and a bouquet. The last time I ever thought it mattered. I tore it in half, placed the pieces on the table, and said, "One for each of you." And I walked out. No one followed me. Not a word. Just a long, gasping silence. At the door, I looked back one last time. Their faces weren't angry. They were ruined. I didn't rage. I didn't post online. I didn't make a speech. I opened my laptop and a spreadsheet. Over 8 days, a friend, a certified accountant, and I built a list. A full audit. Not of their lives, but of mine. Asterisk $14,300 for Aaron's tuition, for semesters I paid just until he gets settled. Turns out he's settled into failure just fine. Asterisk $7,800 for Melanie's car, a lease under my name with her name on the bumper stickers, just until she gets approved for her own. That was 3 years ago. Asterisk $2,400 for medical expenses for Mom. A dozen copays and specialist visits she booked under my insurance, saying she'd take care of it later. She never even asked if I had coverage to spare. Asterisk $18,000 in direct transfers, Venmo, cash, wire. Help with rent, the fridge broke, I just need to get through this month. You'd think with all that money, they'd be living like kings. But no, they still managed to look poor and talk rich. Asterisk $1,650 in gifts, holidays, birthdays, made-up anniversaries. The bed I bought my parents after Dad threw the old one out in a drunken rage. Melanie's, congrats on your engagement spa weekend. Aaron's, I passed my first-class sushi dinner. All of it logged. Receipts, screenshots, timestamps, even printouts of texts like, "Can you send it tonight?" The landlord's making things complicated. If I ask Mom, she'll freak out. Just until next week. Total, $44,150.47. Not a symbolic number. Not rounded. Precise, cold, clean. I handed the file to my attorney. Quiet guy, brutal when needed. We'd gone to school together. I'd once paid for his bar prep course, he never forgot that. "Do you want the full amount?" he asked. "Or leave them a little dignity?" "Every cent," I said. No interest, no embellishment, no drama. Just facts. 4 days later, they got the letters. Certified. One to my father, one to my mother, one to Melanie. Subject, outstanding family debt. This is not revenge. This is closure. Attached is a verified breakdown of financial support rendered between 2016 and 2023. Total due, $44,150.47. Please remit full payment within 90 calendar days via certified bank transfer. Oliver Harris. Melanie broke first. You've got to be kidding me. You're counting gifts? Her messages kept coming, "You need help. Seriously, you're ruining this family." I didn't answer. I left her words unread and untouched. My father called my attorney, tried the stern voice approach, "We're blood. You can't sue your own father." He didn't like hearing that you absolutely can, especially with documentation and legal standing. My mother, she didn't call. She sent a letter, written in careful cursive, ink smudged in places where she must have wiped her eyes. I gave you life. I stayed up with you when you were sick. I prayed for you. And now you send lawyers? No apology, no accountability, just guilt. Weaponized. The way she always liked it best. On day 21, we filed official civil claims. Melanie filed a countersuit, claiming emotional harm, saying I manipulated her into accepting money. She lost. Hard. The judge wasn't even impressed, he just read off the record of transactions, the texts, the written acknowledgments. Dismissed her case in under an hour. Dad refused to respond. 3 weeks later, we filed for judgment by default. A lien. 2 garnishment warnings. A flag on his primary checking account. Mom didn't show up to court, didn't submit a response. But when she tried to pay for her medication at the pharmacy the following week, it declined. Her retirement benefits had started being docked a percentage each month. Just like they'd docked pieces of me for years. And me? I didn't gloat. I didn't scream, "I told you so." I didn't even talk about it. I just watched my bank app as the payments came in. Melanie paid first, probably to stop the bleeding. Dad paid second, only after realizing the lien would ruin his credit. Mom's payment was last. She sold her silver tea set, the one from her wedding. I found out from a cousin who said she cried while wrapping it. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt clean. On the 91st day, I walked into my bank and withdrew exactly $44,150.47 in cash. Hundreds, 50s, 20s. Neatly bundled. I placed it in a matte black lockbox, lined the bottom with velvet, and added one single note on top, asterisk, "This isn't money. This is accountability, asterisk, I didn't send it to them. I didn't burn it." I placed it in a private deposit box under my name, not as a trophy, but as a marker. Proof that I had paid for my escape. Then, I donated $5,000 to a nonprofit that supports adults recovering from family-based financial abuse. They emailed a receipt and a short thank you note. That was the only gratitude I needed. I didn't celebrate. No new car, no toast, no mic drop. I sat down at the same desk where, 5 years ago, I'd skipped dinner to send rent money to Melanie. And I whispered to myself, I didn't want revenge. I wanted my life back. And now, it was paid in full. I didn't move to another city. I didn't start a new life in Bali or Montana, or wherever people go to heal. I stayed right where I was. What changed was everything else. For the first time in my life, my phone didn't buzz with emergencies I didn't create. No more late-night texts from Aaron asking for a little help. No more missed calls from Mom that weren't really about checking in. No more Melanie voice notes pretending she just wanted to chat when she really needed a deposit. The silence was immediate. And it was glorious. I didn't need noise to prove I'd won. I needed absence to prove I'd escaped. I started sleeping better, deeper. My apartment, for once, stayed clean, because I wasn't running out to fix other people's chaos. Food tasted better. Music felt louder. Even the air seemed easier to breathe. I wasn't free because they changed. I was free because I stopped needing them to. Then the ripples came. An old family friend stopped me outside a store. Her smile was tight. "Your mom's not well?" I thought maybe. I cut her off with a look. She tried again. "You know, families argue, but deep down, no," I said. "Deep down is exactly where I buried it." She blinked, took a breath, and left. One afternoon, I pulled a storage bin out of my closet, full of old things I hadn't touched in years. Inside, photo albums, cards, leftover ornaments. I picked up a framed family picture, the last one we ever took together. I was smiling, but my shoulders were hunched. I looked like a guest in my own life. I threw it out. Not in anger. In peace. That same week, I packed up 3 pieces of furniture: the coffee table I bought my parents, the shelf I assembled for Aaron's books, he never read them, and the dining chairs I gave Melanie when hers broke. I donated them to a shelter. Let someone else sit on them now. Someone who might be grateful. And then I did something I hadn't done in years. I deleted every single number from my phone connected to them. Not just Mom, Dad, and my siblings. The cousins who said nothing. The aunt who laughed at me across the table. The uncle who didn't want to take sides. Gone. I didn't block them. I just erased them from my future. A month later, I saw my father in a parking lot. He was loading groceries into the trunk of his car. Not the SUV, of course. That was long gone. He turned, looked straight at me, and paused. His mouth opened slightly. Maybe to speak. Maybe to fake a smile. I didn't stop walking. I didn't slow down. And when I passed him, I didn't even glance back. That silence was the loudest thing I'd ever said. A week after that, I saw Melanie. She was sitting at an outdoor cafe with a man I didn't recognize. Laughing, gesturing, performing. I don't know if she saw me, but I saw her, and I felt nothing. No anger, no bitterness, not even pain. Just air. Like she was a scene I'd already seen too many times. The final closure came quietly. I walked into a coffee shop I hadn't stepped foot in since last year. The same one where, once, I sat across from them on Mother's Day, the day they laughed while I was gutted in public. I ordered tea, took a seat by the window. The same table. The same chair. But everything was different now. There was no tension in my jaw, no ache behind my ribs, no countdown to the next insult. I looked at the seat across from me, the one where they all used to sit, and for the first time, I didn't imagine them in it. It was just empty. Mine. I took a sip, looked outside, and smiled. This seat used to hurt. Now, it's just mine. They stayed the same. But I didn't. And that was enough.